Reconciliation. We welcome the sentiments that have been expressed and some token measures that have been proposed. But the whole economic recovery of the country, prosperity of the nation is very much dependent on, as the Honorable Minister of Finance himself said, happiness index. And that happiness index must be by all peoples of this country. You can't have a policy, and I'm not accusing this government of that policy. I'm merely saying you can't have a policy of making some section of the country happy at the expense of the other. Now, this has been one of our serious issues. Irresponsible statements made by political leaders so that their constituency's happiness index increases exponentially, whilst others are badly affected. And I'm going to give some examples. I'm going to give some current examples. Again, this is not an allegation that I'm making against this government. When the war ended, there were several people in detention under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. A piece of legislation that has been universally condemned as draconian. It has features that have affected everyone in the country. My colleagues, the Janata Vimukti Peramana, were at the receiving end at some time or the other. It's draconian. It can't remain on the statute books of any civilized country. That is accepted. And at the end of the war, there were near 12,000 fighting cadres of the LTTE who were taken into custody, and the government made a very positive policy decision not to charge them with any offense, but to rehabilitate them. And we have commended that. I myself have spoken a number of times in this house commending that effort, that through a period of 2 years rehabilitation, you return to society, even those who bore arms and fought in the final battles. But for some inexplicable reason, you continue to detain others who were in prison under PTA prior to the end of the war, and most of them charged only with helping the LTTE. In certain areas around those times, there was no option but to help the LTTE. For giving a parcel of food, for selling some produce in your shop to somebody known as an LTTE cadre, you were arrested. That law has a provision which says failure to give information to the police is an offense, and you don't have bail while you are incarcerated. So over 800 people were in detention. Now that has come down to various figures are given, but I believe it's 200 odd. At one point 273, at another point 216 and 217, and again 2 days ago 268. I don't know how these figures can change. And that itself gives rise to a lot of suspicion. A lot of suspicion today, because the working group on involuntary disappearances just came to Sri Lanka and left, and they have found to be true an allegation that we made known to the country and to the government early this year, that there was a secret detention camp in the naval dockyard in Trincomalee. They have found it to be true. And what is more, this morning's newspaper quotes former Navy Commander Karanagoda, confirming that it is true. If you look at the Island newspaper front page today, former Commander Karanagoda says, yes, we use some old British air raid shelters to keep them. All he says is we didn't torture them. He says we didn't torture them. But he admits to secret detention camps. He is able to say that and walk around freely on the roads today. How is that possible? And where are those people today? Where are those people that the former Navy commander reveals to the country as having been kept in secret detention camps in old air raid shelters that were there in the naval dockyard in Trincomalee? We brought this to the attention of the government early this year. The government said, we have asked the service commanders. They say, no, there isn't anything like that. But we have met people who were kept there, who have later been released, some of them. And it was with evidence that we confronted the government. And it took the Working Committee on Involuntary Disappearances to actually visit the country. Now we know why the Rajapaksa government did not allow a visit by the Working Group on Involuntary Disappearances. The irony is that Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa in 1989 and 90 took lists of people to this working group. It is to this working group that he went and gave lists of persons who were said to have disappeared in this country. And it was he, when he was president, refused to allow them to come into this country. We commend the government for opening the doors, because experts as they are, with 1, 2, 3 visits, they've been able to ascertain the different places of not only secret detention, but also of torture. Because they have been able to find writings on the walls. Writings on the walls. Torture victims write on the walls with their blood. And that has been found by the working group. And the former Navy commander thinks that he is acting so wisely, says, no, we did not torture them, but we kept them. Now, what does this revelation do to this country? Kept in secret. Kept in secret. So that confirms. Now, you have all of these good words to say about reconciliation, Rainbow Nation, allocating funds, and so on. But will there be reconciliation in this country if a serious issue such as this is continued to be swept under the carpet? And what is worse, people who have spent their time in prison for such long periods of time, some have been there for over 30 years, some have been there for over 20 years, and their cases are not yet over. And now the number is only 200. And measures are being taken to have them released through some program. And what do we have? People screaming blue murder, persons who are attached to the former regime, saying that if you release them, terrorism will rear its head again. What kind of irresponsible statement is that? Professor G.L. Pieris, claiming to be learned in the law, issuing public statements. He was a minister. He was a Minister of Foreign Affairs in the previous government. When you took the responsible and the right step of deciding to rehabilitate 12,000 people who actually fought in the final battle and release them, how is it then possible to justify keeping these persons who are only accused of having helped LTTE carry out its activities? And when the new government accepts that must be rectified, you come out with stories to whip up racial hatred, emotions in the South, totally unjustified. No, you don't accept it. I am glad Honorable Parnavidan says that. But this is something that is being, this venom is being spread to the South. Why is that happening? The government, I'm glad that you say you don't accept it. But we have a grievance against you as well. This is a very small number that have been left to rot in prison for so long. Now, why can't you release them? Why can't you release them? You are relying on officials. And officials, these are the very officials who tortured them. These are the very officials in the Terrorist Investigation Division. There are enough reports internationally today by persons with medical evidence who have been tortured in the TID. And those very officials are still manning those posts. They are still there. And they come for meetings and they oppose releasing these people who have spent in prison for over 20 years and 30 years. You have agreed that the Prevention of Terrorism Act will be repealed. Then how are you holding these people? How can you hold these people under a law that you yourself have now finally admitted is draconian and must be taken off the statute books of this country? That was given as a commitment by the Minister of Foreign Affairs in his opening speech itself on the 14th of September this year. And the resolution that you co-sponsored says it. And there is still reluctance to release them. All you have done so far is release 39 persons on bail. You haven't released them. You have only enlarged them on bail. Initially with tough bail conditions that they couldn't furnish. Fortunately, that was later reduced. And most of them have been able to go home. But they are on bail only. If they are on bail, what does it mean? They are suspected to have committed an offense under the PTA. You don't even know what that offense is because they have still not been charged. And you will only enlarge them on bail, only some of them on bail. You say the others cannot be enlarged on bail. 99 of these prisoners have written and said that they are willing to undergo rehabilitation. I met them. I met them with the Honorable Minister for Rehabilitation and Prison Reform. I met them with the Honorable Leader of the Opposition some time ago. I met them with the Chief Minister of the Northern Province. At all of those times, they told us that they are giving that letter only because that may be a way out for them. They're not giving those letters with their heart in it. But they are giving it so that at least through that process, let us be released. 99 of them have given letters. The government says, yes, we will consider that favorably. It is on that promise that the second fast unto death was suspended last Monday. But there is no commitment to send even some of them to rehabilitation. In the information that I got yesterday, the government agrees to send some of them for rehabilitation, but there are further conditions attached to that. And that is not acceptable. Why can't people who have been in prison for over 5 years, over 10 years, over 15 years, be released? They are held under the PTA. You have to repeal that act tomorrow. In 9 months, there will be an oral update to the UN Human Rights Council. Repealing an act does not take you that long. Can be done in 2 months. Now you have to do that. You're holding on unreasonably to people who have suffered immensely through this incarceration. Their families have suffered and continue to suffer deprivation. And you are doing that, and I'm making this allegation against the government. You are doing that because you are worried about these irresponsible accusations that are being leveled by the members of the former regime. The people of this country are not so unreasonable. They will not protest. If the truth is told, they will not protest. If they are told that these people have been kept for helping the LTTE, when LTTE cadres themselves, 12,000 of them were released by the former regime. When LTTE leaders were ministers in the previous regime sitting in this house. Deputy commander of the LTTE, who is accused of killing in cold blood several hundred policemen, was seated here as a member of the former regime. With what face are they facing the people and uttering these untruths? That releasing these few 200 people who have been incarcerated unjustifiably, unreasonably for such long period of time is going to revive military or terrorism again in this country. While they have with them made one of them chief minister of the Eastern Province. So now he's been arrested. Only now the wheels of justice, they say, grind but exceedingly slow. So we can see the slow progress. Nevertheless, we recognize the progress. At least now some action has been taken. But there are others. There are others who, some of whom are sitting in the opposition benches now, who have been identified by name in your own LLRC report. They're still out and about. The former deputy minister is still out and about. The one that the whole world knows as an arms procurer. And when you were Honorable Deputy Minister, you were vociferous from this side about KP. He is still a free man. And you are a Deputy Minister. You are a Deputy Minister of Justice for a number of months. He is a free man. You shouted hoarse from here, asking questions about him. He is still a free man under your government. Honorable member from Gaul, you were a member of the previous government, and I'm shocked. I'm shocked that you are Honorable Dr. Pathirana is a generally very reasonable man, but you are a member of the previous government. All this happened under the previous government. I am calling them to task for not delivering on their promises. But certainly it doesn't lie in your mouth to say shame, shame to them. So, I'm asking these questions. How are you able to justify keeping all these poor souls in prison, worried and frightened that some outdated professor will charge you, will scream at you, will whip up racist sentiments, while you are not taking any action against persons against whom there is Interpol warrant? Honorable Jayalalitha Jayawardena produced that warrant, the red notice from Interpol here in this house. Now it's 11 months since you said you ushered in Yahapalanaya. Now it's Yahapalanaya for that man, not for the good people of this country. Your good governance seems to be good for bad people. whom you have allowed to remain free. Now this can't go on. Now this is the month of November, and before I wind up, I want to say something very important. Thank you, sir, for letting me know the time and the time that I have to say this important issue. This is the month of November. It is in the month of November that we remember fallen heroes. And that is why poppy is sold at the beginning of November. And I wore a poppy flower as I walked into Parliament. That was given. We all honor the dead. We all honor those who fell fighting for some cause or the other. When I spoke in this house, when I made my maiden speech on the 6th of May 2010, I said, we mourn the death of every Sri Lankan soldier who died in this unnecessary war. Similarly, the government and every Sinhalese and Muslim person also must mourn the death of every LTT cadre who died in this unnecessary war. That sentiment must be expressed. It's important, if you are serious about reconciliation, it is important for you to allow memorialization, and government has agreed that memorialization will be allowed. Many of the LTT cemeteries have been desecrated, the most uncivil action by the previous government. I've gone to some villages, I'll mention the names of the villages, Uduthurai, Aliyavala in my constituency, where people showed me the area where their children are buried. There are coconut estates there. It's been flattened by bulldozers. The most uncivil thing that any community can do is to desecrate cemeteries. That has been done. They still want to remember their children in the month of November. And I think world over as we remember, world over as we celebrate, and I did wear a poppy flower, I want our people who have lost their children, they may have been LTTE cadres, but they all belong to us and they have died. And I want those parents and others to remember their children and brothers during the month of November. They have done that for years. They were prevented by the previous regime from doing that. But I plead with this government to permit them to remember them in those cemeteries in the month of November. We are at a stage when we are not asking for the division of the country. You know that. We are at a stage when we have publicly issued violence.
Please wind up.
You know that. Thank you, sir. I'll wind up now. You know that. Our people, those people, relatives of the fallen cadres have voted for that kind of policy. What more do you want? We have said we don't want to divide the country. We have said we don't want to take up arms again. But let us remember our children who fought for a cause. Be magnanimous and permit these families in this month, beginning to